Hey there everybody, thanks for stopping by and watching this video. I'm Motogata553, and this is a little bit more off-the-cuff talk here about Dragon Quest III, the Game Boy Color version. Now, I had written out a script and stuff for this to kind of try to make it flow on, but unfortunately, as I was reading through it, it doesn't quite capture how I wanted to feel about this game, and it's, for lack of a better word, it's really hard for me to boil down what it is I liked about this game, and it wasn't until I sat around and just sort of thought about it, and here's some things. The early Dragon Quest games, as maybe have possibly come to know here, now that the Dragon Quest 11S version for the Switch, as well as 1, 2, 3 are now available, that are the more upgraded versions of those first three games. The first three games are kind of sparse on stuff. It's very basic, very simple with that story stuff. However, you can see the ideas of, oh, well, we're going to be kind of sneaky here, we're going to add in here, and you got to talk to everybody here, but there's not going to be tons and tons of people to where, you know, you're talking to people and it's going to be really difficult to follow things. It's going to be just enough to where it won't waste your time to, alright, let's talk to everybody and see what's going on. That is continued with Dragon Quest III. It is expanded. You have the first world that you're on is this mock fantasy version of Earth, and you start in the mystical realm of Australia, and go find what happened to your pappy Ortega. Carried on with this is, depending on how you look at it, a little bit of an issue is that the characters, there's really nothing there. Dragon Quest II at least has the defining characteristic that the Prince of Canuck, or Canuck, he is a portable coffin for most of the game, but that's not quite the case here. You basically have your main hero character, and then if you want to, you can hire up to 3 for a party, at least, hire up to 3 different characters to join your party. You can actually hire as many as you like. Very cheap and easy way to gain a lot of money is to create a bunch of characters and then de-equip them and just sell all their equipment, but you didn't hear that from me. And there's some other sneaky ways to make things really easy in the game. For the longest time, 3 really held the top spot for me when it came to Dragon Quest games in the series. 4, for whatever reason, never really gelled as well with me. I know, wow, a long time ago, Sushi and I did a podcast doing like Dragon Quest 4 versus 5. 5 is my favorite in the series. I will always still keep 3 in really high regard, but as I was replaying it, I was trying to remember why, because it had been decades really since I had played through it, and it's like, why did I like this so much? Because I'm a very different person, surprisingly enough, than the wee little 8-year-old and such. I was playing it way back in the day. Honestly, was kind of confused as to why I liked it so much, because the story it's not really heavy on the story. It's not really heavy with characters. You have some blips real quick here and there of characteristics for villains and some of the townspeople and stuff, but there's really not a big there's nothing meaty there when it comes to characteristics. Dragon Quest IV is a leap in the direction of what the series has been for a long time when it comes to its characters and such. 3 is more along the lines of not being the case. Genuinely was kind of confused on why the game had resonated with me so much, but as I played it more and more, as I went through the fiendish pyramid and decided it was appropriate to get that golden fist that I never used, and have to fight each tile one by one, all the way back out of there without having to use magic, and all the other wonderful random little places that are Japan, Romali, a lot of little different areas here and there that are nods to our Earth locations and such. I started to rekindle that, I guess you'd say, I don't know if it's really lost per se, but just the old part of myself that I progressed out of. I don't want to say grew out of, because it's not necessarily growth. It's just kind of your trajectorying somewhere. I didn't stay put in my feelings and opinions and tastes for games and stuff, but it really kind of started to rekindle some of the sense of adventure. It also helped to have the monster medals as an additional new thing that I wasn't familiar with. And you also get a couple of extra bonus dungeons, which I'll probably do an addendum for this video at some point to talk about those more in detail. But yeah, for the game itself, you're really just kind of bouncing along trying to figure out where to go. And eventually you get to the point where you sort of figure out, you're like, oh, if I collect 6 orbs, I can get this the ability to fly all over the place. So you go around gallivanting around the world to get these orbs, and eventually are able to finally take on Baramos, which is considered to, for as far as you know, the Archfiend Baramos is the bad guy. That's what he's propped up as. You're like, okay, got this. There's nothing about Zoma whatsoever until after you beat Baramos and you get the rug pulled out from under you when you visit Aliahan, and you're like, okay, good, game is beat, we win, yeah, all right. And then you get back to the original castle, and Zoma pops up, and it's like, hey, wrong. Fa 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 fa, evil laughter. Like I said, not really much in the way of groundbreaking when it comes to story or anything, but it's a pretty big shock at the time, because you had the shock of 2's, God of Destruction, Shido, popping up the moment that you try to leave after taking care of issues there. And then the first one, the Dragon Lord just turns into a dragon, and you take him on for round 2. This one was really neat in that you go back to Alefgard. Now, at this point, it is a taking place way back in time sort of thing, so Alefgard is actually in perpetual darkness because Zoma is being a bit of a jerk. So you get there, and then everybody's despairing because they're like, all the heroes, they say they're going to do this, but they never end up doing this. They can't do this. Well, we're just doomed because the Demon Lord Zoma's just going to cause trouble and be there. You basically, in its own way, redo the things that were done in Dragon Quest 1, but in a way that it's not completely the same. That makes it feel a little bit different, which is a cool touch, I think. That, and also the Alefgard's a little different, so a bit bigger, and they do a nice job of going back to there, as opposed to 2 purposely, which is fine, but 2 tried to minimize it and show that, Alefgard is kind of in the past. Don't worry about it, guys. There's a whole new world to deal with, but that's fine. 3 also added in the ability for classes, and you can eventually, about a third of the way through the game or so, you can change your classes for your units. Once they hit level 20, they keep any spells they learn, but their stats are halved and they're reverted back to level 1. So this, particularly if you wait till the end game or later on in the game, can make leveling up a little bit easier, could make the early portions of the game a little bit harder depending on what spells you end up learning and stuff and your party composition. I don't know, I like it. It's a great way to be able to mix and match parties. The one thing that I would say is that the hero never changes their party, but there's this neat little thing they added in this game, which is personality. So not only do you have a class that skews the character one way or other a little bit, they also will have a personality. The personality will allow for stat growths to be better or worse for certain stats depending on what the personality is. And you can change that with single-use items, the books, or you can equip something that will temporarily change it, and then when you de-equip it or unequip it, it'll revert back to whatever the personality was before that item was equipped. This adds another way for you to min-max and turn your characters into super duper terrible, like completely poorly optimized, or something pretty strong for lower levels and stuff. And for myself, I understand that this is kind of the next progression from where they went from 1 to 2 to 2 to 3. Without the charm of what the characters could be, you're left with the charm of the world itself. And I can understand why people won't like 3 or 2 or even 1 really. And it isn't until you get into the Zenithian trilogy, or 4, 5, and 6, to really start to appreciate the series. Playing through this again, I think what it sort of rekindled to some small degree is my enjoyment that I had with it, just kind of adventuring around, and that's what this was. This is a straight up just an adventure with really less to do with trying to tug at the heartstrings so much. There are some moments you're like, oh, that's unfortunate, but can't really do anything about it. That's that's pretty much it. Can't really do anything about it. Oops, the forbidden love of this couple, they ended up killing themselves. So I can't do nothing about it, and the elves really hate people. The end. Do. So, like, things like that. I will say this is maybe not Sugiyama's strongest composition for a game, but there are a lot of really great songs in 3. The final fight, once you raise the light orb and take Gonzoma, it's a great song. Even the one before that, I believe it's called like Intense Fight, that's a really great battle theme as well. And the ending credits and stuff, it would always have a very strong, I don't even say tinge, it's a very strong nostalgic bite to me, at least. And so whenever I hear a lot of that stuff, I'm like, oh, I remember when, way back in the day, when I wasn't old and sluggish, still doughy-eyed and young. But regardless, the Game Boy Color version is a fun jaunt. It's a little bit easier. However, it does have those extra dungeons, which makes it a little bit more challenging, and you can also collect the medals and have fun with things that way. I can't really speak for the new versions that just cropped up, though I have heard those are really easy compared to some. I mean, I did see somebody blitz through 2 in like 2.5 days, which it was surprising to me. So unless they really knew the game, to me that's, I don't know, it feels like somebody's either getting a lot of like hints in game or something. I don't know. I would figure the final portion of that, and to a much lesser extent, the final portions of Dragon Quest III are a bit tougher. But if you've been leveling up your characters and having them take different classes, perhaps, taking that fighter and turning them into a sage, or taking your cleric and turning them into a fighter, or taking your wizard and making them into a sage, it can be a pretty easy game depending on how long you grind for it there. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Play Dragon Quest 3. Any version. It's a good one. I enjoyed it. Hopefully you'll enjoy it too. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.